Alright, so I'm here to talk about the perfect marriage between design thinking and lean agile principles. So, marriage, probably not the right word. I don't know if something was on my mind at the time when I was writing this, and it was a slightly better subject title than take what you think and then blow it up and then narrow it back down again and try to figure out what the right thing to do is, or even how design thinking mixed with lean agile can help you have better project outcomes. Neither one of those fit that well on the project slide, so I went with the marriage phrase. But this is what we're actually talking about today. So where does this all come from? Well, you guys, as we said, I work at Bluefruit. I'm a business development manager. But one time, a long, long time ago, in a land far away, I actually was a design student. I spent 4 years studying design, and I had teachers that made me do lots of iterations before they let me even touch a computer, which meant I had to do like 20 different thumbnails before I got to drill down and pick a design. That wasn't them just trying to be cruel and eke out my education as long as I could afford to pay for it. They were actually trying to teach me to think more about what problems I was trying to solve and to explore ideas a little bit more and to make sure that I was solving the right problem before I spent a lot of time doing the design process. And they didn't make this up. It's something that's very widely talked about in the design communities called design thinking. It's been around since the 50s, been iterated a lot since then. Tons of books on it, lots of free materials about it. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the topics today and how it applies to us at Bluefruit and how we're starting to think about using it. So design thinking as a mindset is really about understanding problems a lot better, seeking opportunities and possibilities, and really trying to solve the right problems with your whatever practices you end up using. One of the things that's really critical to this is that idea of blowing stuff up and then narrowing it back down again, so you really understand what it is that you're working on and why you're working on it. This is the actual really formal example of how they talk about it from the design, major design British. Sorry, I can't think off the top of my head in 5 minutes, but you can find it online. So the idea is you've got a problem, go back out, think about everything, think about all the different solutions you can have, then narrow back down again. And the really critical part is not just that first diamond, but actually the second one. So make sure you keep doing that again and again. And that's when it starts to look a little bit more like agile problem solving. So why do we, or for example, our Bluefruit, even thinking about this in our lives, we don't make products. So we're actually embedded software engineers. We work for clients who have products and we solve the problems for them lots of times. But the way we do that is in a real agile way. So we like to work in small iterations that allow us to solve these problems, allow us to also deal with emergent knowledge and really empower our engineers. Well, one of the things that stops our engineers from being empowered is when they haven't got the full picture. They don't understand the things that maybe caused those problems in the first place or where it's coming from. So although Lean Agile is great for problem solving, it's not that great for helping us to understand why we're solving these problems. We're not alone, so IBM have talked about it too. You can read the quote later if you want. But basically they said one of the biggest issues that we've got is our understanding of the problem is skewed by the one product owner we get to talk to. So that means sometimes we don't really understand that whole design thinking process that went before that. So what we're trying to think about, and again, not a unique or original idea, but is how to apply design thinking to the Lean Agile principles that we're looking at. So this is an interesting diagram that explains it when you're thinking about it more in startup mode. So all this red stuff tends to happen with our clients. And so at Bluefruit, we don't see any of it, right? It's all hidden, and we just get the now make it work, make it happen, do this thing for us. So one of the design tactics that we're trying to use is this idea of discovery and trying to figure out what problem it is that we're trying to solve. So it's not for us to do the design thinking part for our clients. They're doing the products. They should be doing that themselves. But it's for us to have more visibility of what they did and how they got there so that we understand if we're solving the problem in the right way and make sure that we're asking the right questions. So one of the ways that we're looking about doing this is taking some of the principles of the 5 whys that we tend to incorporate into our retrospectives at the ends of projects where we understand what happened, why, and doing it at the beginning when we first get a brief from a client. So when they ask us to do something, understand, okay, why? What is it? What drove it? Who actually wants this? and is it the right thing? And that helps us to understand what it is that we're working on. And this isn't something that only helps with software development, it's also something that can help across different product teams. Anytime you're trying to solve a problem, instead of going straight in and trying to think about the solution and trying to engineer and go deep, taking a step back and remember why you're here in the first place, not just the problem, but also what are the drivers that caused it, so you make sure that the problem you're solving actually answers the larger ecosystem. This is the agile version of that. So one of our developers very kindly pointed out to me, it's not this and then that, it's constant. So one of the things we're also looking about is how do we do that constantly? So every sprint, are we understanding what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, and how it fits into the larger product cycle for our clients. So, takeaway? Ask questions, basically. Don't be afraid to explode ideas out. That can be constrained to an hour, an afternoon, just making sure you take the time to question it, and then converge back in a solution, but don't be afraid to do that all over again. And, yeah.
Be told to shut up. It's brilliant. Any questions for Caitlin while we set up for Dan Perkins?
Oh yeah, it's dealing with customers. It's a lot of the time it's turning around to them and saying they're wrong, or wanting to say they're wrong, and then going on with something that you know is not going to work in some way. The process has to reveal itself to them sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's very dispiriting for the team, very dispiriting if everyone knows that we have to do this before they realise. So it's just about trying to avoid that as much. It's having that negotiation with the customer going, look, this is going to go wrong, and we're failing in getting that across to you.
Well, it's trying to figure out, oftentimes, why it's wrong. So where did it go wrong?
Yeah.
So what was and that's why it's about the kind of 5 whys. What were they originally trying to do that their brief is answering? And where did they maybe go in the wrong direction? So an example we've got of that is somebody saying, oh, I want to make this cup be wirelessly connected. Well, why? Oh, I want to know how much coffee someone's drinking. Well, why? I want to know when to order that coffee. Let's not look at the cup. Let's look at the coffee maker. That would be a better answer, and it's already connected in some ways.
It's challenging customers like that, though, can be difficult because they go, this is my cherished idea, we've already done this. And then you go, you know.
And sometimes, I mean, experimentation is a part of it. So usually in that instance, what we might say is, well, let's do the smallest version of that.
And then find out they're wrong as early as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's where the agile bit comes in.
Yeah.
So, but again, if you can question enough to understand what their driving motivators were to get to that wrong problem, you might get the ammunition you need to be able to convince them to go in a different direction, especially if your idea is cheaper, better, more efficient. But you don't know it's going to be those things unless you know why.
Or prepare yourself that you're going to pivot at some point. You just know it's going to come.
Yeah. And, you know, at least also for your own people so they're not demotivated, if you know why you're doing it in the first place. It might not be something they believe in, but if it's really important to the client, it can help remind them, like, okay, yeah, maybe it's not the most advanced thing we've ever done in tech, but they need to do it this way because of circumstances that constrain maybe their innovation.
It's harder to lead a team when you have to do that than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll then understand the drivers
Yeah.
that can help.
Sorry.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.